6.3, adding and subtracting rational expressions. To add or subtract rational expressions, we have to factor each denominator. We need to express all rational expressions with a common denominator, and then we need to add or subtract the numerators. The denominators do not change. In math, you often group like things together, but keep unlike things separate. For example, we group together 2x and 5x to be 7x, but we keep unlike terms separate. 2x plus 5y, we just keep it like that. The same idea holds for fractions. Fractions with the same denominator are alike, and you can group them together. So 5/12 and 2/12, we can say that's 7/12. We add or subtract the numerators, and the denominator does not change. Similarly, in rational expressions with the same denominators are alike, you can group them together. So if we have 5x over x plus 12 plus 2x plus 3 over x plus 12, we can group those together, and then we can just see what that is. What is 5 plus 2x? Well, that's just 7x. Okay? If rational expressions have different denominators, we're going to rewrite them as equivalent expressions with the least common denominator. What we need to do is we have to factor each denominator. Start with the factors from the first denominator, and then include any factors from the second denominator that are not already represented. So here they said, well, this denominator has a b, so I'm going to put a b there. C is in both, so I put it right there, and then d is also there. So the lowest common denominator is b times c times d. We multiply the numerator and the denominator of each rational expression by whichever factor is missing outside the circle from the original denominator. Okay, so a over bc, b and c are both in denominator 1, so we have to multiply them both by d, numerator and denominator. And they did the same thing here. Well, c and d are included in denominator 2, but there's no b, so we multiplied by b over b. That gave us a common denominator of b, c, d, and then we just multiply the top, ad is ad, eb is eb, and it said to add them together. Okay, let's try these out. So it says simplify and identify any non-permissible values of the variable. So I like to start with non-permissible. These already have the same denominator. The non-permissible values are x cannot equal plus or minus 3. And what I did in my brain is I said that's a difference of squares. I have x minus 3, x plus 3. So solving each of those for 0, I get x minus 3, x plus 3. Or x cannot be 1, 3 or 3. Okay, because these are the same denominator, I can keep the denominator the same, and I can just combine them. I can say 2x plus 4 plus 7x minus 10. Now I can simplify that. 2x plus 7x is 9x. 4 plus 10 is 14. So this is my final answer with my non-permissible values. Okay, same thing here, but the negative sign is going to try and trick us. So common denominator, oh, non-permissible. A cannot be 0, B cannot be 0. Okay, so same denominator, and on the top I can go 10a plus 5. Then I have minus all of this stuff, 3a minus 2. And these brackets are going to save us. So I have 10a minus 3a, I have 7a. I have 5 minus negative 2, so that's like adding. And there's our final answer. We could also write this as 7a plus 1 over ab. And that might be helpful if we ever needed to cancel out like terms or something like that. Okay. Next one. Identify the least common denominator in this group. Okay. So the least common denominator. We need to create a Venn diagram. So this is going to represent denominator 1, denominator. This is going to represent denominator 2. And this one's going to represent denominator 3. Okay, it kind of blows my mind. Okay, 2x. Well, in this one, 2 is in here. It's in that denominator. But x is shared between this one. Colors might help here. X is a common factor between the black and the red. So the area of the circle that shows the black and the red is right here. So I'm going to put X there. 3, because we had 3x, 3 is only in red. And y is only in green. So in order to get the least common denominator, I have to go 2 times x times 3 times y. So that's 6xy would be the least common denominator. Okay, let's try a more difficult one. So again, we just have 3 denominators here. And I'm going to color code once again. In your textbook, I think they're not color coded. So the green black is denominator 1, red is denominator 2, and green will be denominator 3. So something like that. Okay, x plus 5. Well, x plus 5 is in both black and red. So I have to find the spot that is in both black and red, and that's x plus 5. Okay, so I've taken care of that and that. X minus 4 is only in red. No, it's in red and green, so that's right here. X minus 4. Okay, I've taken care of that. And then x plus 7 is just here. So my least common denominator is going to be x plus 5, x minus 4, x plus 7. That is my least common one. Okay, let's try one more. It says this one. So there's only 2 denominators, 2 fractions rather, but I think we might need to factor. So 2 things that multiply to be 9, add to be 6. I think that's going to be x plus 3, x plus 3. Okay, and then over here we have x plus 5, x plus 3. Okay, let's call this one black and let's call this one red. Oops, that didn't show up red at all. There we go. Okay, so we have a red circle and we have a black circle. So in this one we have x plus 3. X plus 3 comes once here and once there. So I'm going to put x plus 3 here. But it still occurs one more time just in black. And x plus 5 occurs once just in red. So my least common denominator is x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 5. Okay? Now we're going to use that. It says find each sum or difference, express your answers in simplest form. Okay, so in order to add or subtract, we need a common denominator. So I need to figure out what my lowest common denominator is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 2 circles. Okay, in my first one, I have x and x plus 1. Well, x is alone here, and x plus 1 is in both. So my least common denominator is x times x plus 1. Okay, now I have to look at each fraction. X minus 15 and x times x plus 1. Well, this already has my lowest common denominator. I'm going to leave it alone. My next one is not have my least common denominator, so I'm going to have to multiply it by something. I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom. I'm going to, in other words, multiply it by 1 so I don't change its value. And what I need to multiply by is x. So I'm going to multiply by x over x. And now I will have a common denominator. My common denominator, because I'll have x times x minus x plus 1, x times x plus 1. So that is my common denominator. Here I have x minus 15, and over here I have x times x minus 4. So that's going to be x squared minus 4x. I'm going to keep simplifying. I have negative x squared. I have minus 4x plus x, so minus 3x minus 15, and I get x times x plus 1. The last thing I would do just to simplify is I would factor out a negative. I would say this is x squared plus 3x plus 15. And what I would do is I would just quickly check, and I would accept this answer if it was correct, but I just have to check, are there 2 numbers that multiply to be 15 and add to be 3? No, so I can't further factor that. Okay? Let's try the next one. So first of all, I'm going to tackle this one by simplifying, or sorry, by factoring. So I have 6 over x minus 5, and this one I have 240 over two things that multiply to be negative 15 and add to be negative 2. Well, I think that's negative 5 and positive 3. Okay, looking at this, I can tell by inspection probably what it's going to be, but I'm just going to do a quick little circle. In the first one, I have x minus 5, which is in common with the second one. Need bigger circles. So x minus 5, and I also have x plus 3 in the second one. So this is going to be my lowest common denominator. Okay, so my second one's all set. It's just my first fraction that I need to multiply by a form of 1. So I'm going to multiply this by x plus 3 over x plus 3. This is just another way of multiplying by 1, anything divided by itself. So I'm not changing the value, but I'm just making it compatible, I guess you could say. Okay, so I get 6x plus 18, and then I have minus 240 over my common denominator, which is x minus 5, x plus 3. I just need to do some combining here. Negative 240 plus 18. Negative 240 plus 18. I don't know if this works this way. Does that work? Yep. Plus 18. I get 222, negative 222. So I get 6x minus 222 over x minus 5, x plus 3. And the last thing I would see is if I could factor this out. I know I could pull out a factor of 2, but perhaps there's more that I could factor out there rather. Okay, so that's this entire section.